weigh in on that particular impeachment proceeding, as they have signed the impeachment motion. Now, what the Constitution requires is just a third of the members of Parliament to sign that motion before 2/3 of members of Parliament can now vote on the motion. So once a third of the members sign that particular motion, it's basically off to a start on his impeachment. So we'll be taking a look at that conversation, even as the Deputy President himself has continued his fight for survival. He held an interview with local media stations yesterday evening and said, you know, that impeachment is basically against the will of the people. So we'll be taking a look at that and much more, as it has made it to the headline of the local dailies this morning, the Daily Nation and the Standard, as well as the Star. My guest will be joining me in studio in just a few minutes as we try to take a look at that particular conversation. If you've got any questions, comments, thoughts on this, you can send in your feedback through our SMS line 23059 or our WhatsApp number, which is on your screen. Tag us as well across all social media platforms where we are streaming this broadcast live. You're in safe pair of hands. My name is Cynthia Nanjala. Let me bring you up to speed with what is making headlines across the country first. Now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua now claims that he is being persecuted by the President William Ruto's allies because he is a truthful man. Gachagua, who was speaking in church, says the move by Kenya Kwanza leaders to threaten to impeach him was because he's been telling the powers some very uncomfortable truths that have made him very unpopular. This even as his allies, including Jubilee leader Jeremiah Kioni, insisted that should the members of Parliament go ahead to impeach the Deputy President, then the entire government, including that of President William Ruto, should go home.
Kila wakati tunamuomba atupatie hekima, atupatie ujasiri ya kutenda mema, hasa ya kuongea ukweli. Mimi zile shida zote unaona nikipitia ni kwa sababu mimi ni mtu ya kusema ukweli. And I did not know that many people have a problem with the truth. So nakuta watu wengi sana wako na shida na mambo ya ukweli. Sasa mimi niliumbwa namna hiyo. Mungu amenifunza na kuniongoza kuwa nikisema ukweli. Na kwa hivyo katika harakati za uongozi, saa ingine tukisimama na ukweli, wengine hawapendi, lakini tutaendelea tu kusimama na ukweli kwa sababu hiyo ndio ile Mungu anataka. Bishop, mimi sina maneno mengi. Mimi nimeshukuru sana kwa maombi. Please continue praying for our country. Let us pray for our president. Let us pray for the government. Let us pray for our leaders. It is my hope that sanity will prevail. We tone down on politics of division, siasa ya kumalizana, siasa ya furugu. Tufanyie watu ya Kenya kazi, kwa sababu tulichaguliwa miaka miwili peke yake na hatujafanya ile kazi ambayo wananchi wanatarajia tufanye. Tungetaka tuombe tupunguze maneno mingi, zote tushikane, tufanyie wa Kenya kazi, kwa sababu hawa wa Kenya walituchagua wakiwa na matumaini makubwa sana, na hawakutuchagua tupigane, turumbane, tupanganie, tukue na maneno ambayo haifai. That is my prayer. And as we do whatever we are doing in the political space, it is my prayer that we should always respect the will of the people. The will of the people is supreme. Elections were done. President and I were elected to the joint ticket for 5 years. And that is the will of the people. Let us not fall into the temptation of overturning the will of the people through other methods, because people will not be happy when you overturn the will of the people. Let us all agree that the tenets of democracy says that you respect the will of the people because it's sovereign. Si iko namna hiyo, watu waheshimiwe. Ile wananchi wameamua, tuwapatie nafasi, kwa sababu wao ndio wenye kuamua, na tusikeuke ile wananchi wenyewe wameamua.
Government that obviously has failed and the blame game continuing. Mheshimiwa Maimai, nakushukuru wewe azimio. I want to suggest mambo ya Kenya Kwanza kule kwa bunge, let them wanyoroshane. Because they are going to tell us a lot. We want them to tell us a lot more, so that the country can be free. Lakini msio watu patiwa shilingi 100,000 unaweka sahihi. We don't want to go that way. Hey, before you sign, let us know what it is all about. We are not here. We don't want to agree to discuss those diversionary tactics.
Lazima pia washirika wawe pia fikira zetu ziko sawa na yale ambayo yanaendelea. Tunaposema Ruto must go, sio Ruto peke yake, ni Ruto na vifaranga yake yote. Na msigoje jamani, msigoje atende lolote la maana. Amekataliwa kule nje, hata hapa nyumbani tuachane na kia weka. Nasema nini na Kiswahili? Ya uzuri mudwa aende. Kwa sababu hii sarakasi, na ninasema tena nikimaliza wewe, na Mwenyezi Mungu atusaidie, do not get drawn kwa hizi vitu. Hii mambo unaona kwa Mount Kenya imechezwa, na hata sasa itakuwa kipindi until 2027. Na langu kama mtu ambaye ametoka kwa mlima ni kuhakikisha kwamba hatuchezwi kipindi tena kwa mlima. Tuko na Mheshimiwa Kalonzo mkinikosa, kwa sababu naweza nikosa, nitakuwa mlima nikihimiza watu ya kwamba tuache kuchezwa vipindi. Na
sasa sisi wengine wanatuita wapinzani. Mimi siwezi kuwa mpinzani. We are a team waiting to take over the leadership of this country. Properly the alternative government in waiting. Kwa hivyo hakuna mambo ya woga. We say it as it is so that we can at least redeem this nation.
Well, that is also interesting. We're having a conversation on Azimio members of parliament, because Kalonzo Musyoka has urged Azimio members of parliament to keep off those impeachment proceedings and let it be a UDA party battle. We'll also be having that aspect as well. Now, leader of majority Kimani Ichung'wah has now confirmed that there is a plot by Kenya Kwanza friendly members of parliament to impeach the deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua. The leader of majority, who had early this month denied that there was a plot to impeach the DP, says he himself had appended his signature to the impeachment motion. This even as the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, called on his voice to the motion, or added his voice to the motion, indirectly asking those who've been rejected to go home peacefully.
It is true there is an impeachment motion against the Deputy President, and as Member of Parliament for Kikuyu, I have already appended my signature to it. And I will support that impeachment motion to stop a process where government is being undermined and sabotaged from within government. Ili yale mambo tuliwaambia tutawafanyia tuweze kuyatekeleza. But it is not tenable, it is not feasible that for another 3 years tutakuwa ni siasa ya mlima, siasa ya lakeside kwa kina Bishop Opio, siasa ya baharini huko coast. Tufanye siasa ya maendeleo ambayo itatuwezesha tufanye yale mambo tuliyoelezea. Because I do not believe in the politics of ethnicity. I do not believe in the politics of undermining and sabotaging a government that we formed. Sababu tunaambiwa ati tujikusanye kama Wakikuyu, tujiondoe kwa hii serikali, tuende tutafute Kalonzo na Wajakoya na Eugene, ati tutengeneze serikali nyingine ya 2027. Na hii tulitengeneza tuachilie isaidie wengine. Hii tulitengeneza kwanza ndio tutatumia, tuweke barabara ya Kifama Korami, tujenge soko Bogoto, tuweke barabara ya Bogoto Rami, tuweke Odire Rami, tumalize ya Kikuyu, hata hapa Kifama Koyala na kuna Rami. In the next 3 months also, those roads have already been advertised na zitafanyika. Because that is the work you give me.
Na tunataka tuwe na viongozi ambao wanajua the limit of where to go, what to say, where to say, how to say, and the impact on society. Na kama kuna mtu yeyote anataka kufuruka amani ya nchi, ikiwa ni mimi, nitolewe. Akiwa ni Makau, atolewe. Akiwa ni Kamene, atolewe. Ikiwa ni wewe, utolewe. Because we want peace.
Mheshimiwa, umeongea vizuri. Mheshimiwa kutoka Mwea, Mheshimiwa from Rift Valley, mimi nasema hivi, kuna vitu ambazo zilinikela mimi mwenyewe wakati wa Mavoko demolitions. Nilinyenyekea na nikaenda mahali nikifikiria naweza saidiwa na mtu ambaye nilikuwa na yeye mbunge. Nikaenda nikamwambia, tafadhali so nisaidie tu out of 4,325 acres. Ambia serikali ichukue 4,000 na hii 300 muache hawa watu, msiwabomolea. Msiwabomolee. Unajua vile niliambia, wewe toka hapa, enda kaambie Kalonzo. How will you feel? How will you feel? I want to say here personally, I know the Bible tells us don't revenge, but this one, God help me, I'm going to revenge when I'm alive. Leteni hiyo mswada mimi ndaiweka mara moja na maneno iendelee.
An official heading the cleaning department in Kakamega County has been arrested after an audit of his lifestyle revealed he was a multi-millionaire who could not explain his income. The man is said to own a private school, own high-end vehicles, and could not explain where he got money to procure the same. Anglican Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit now claims that the impeachment saga being peddled by government officials is a plot to hoodwink and divert Kenyans' attention from their Adani Airport scam. The Archbishop called on Kenyans not to sleep but to ensure they demand accountability from the government concerning the Adani scam. He called on the relevant authorities to ensure they bring to book those involved.
We don't know whether the current noises in the political front are genuine when we hear of impeachments of governors, now of the deputy president, or there are noises to cover up other things like the Adani and things that are hidden on the tables. Our prayer is that Kenyans need a break. After we fought, we expect them to work for 5 years without noise. But Kenya has never known how to conclude an election. We elect leaders, tomorrow they begin a campaign for the next 5 years without considering that Kenyans need a break.
Ninyi mheshimu wananchi waliowachagua. Na kama nilivyosema wakati mwingine, nao wananchi waheshimu viongozi.
Huku Nairobi kuna ukosefu ya maji ya Wajaluo, tofauti na Wakikuyu. Kuna portal ya Wakamba. Our problems are the same as a city of Nairobi. The same pain Mama Njeri feels when she can't feed a child is the same as Mama Akinyi. We want our people to remain united without tribalism in our city and our country. We are one people. There is more that unites us than divides us, and that is what we believe in. So please don't worry about the politics you're seeing going on. Hiyo ambayo inakuja bunge next week na huko kwingine, don't worry.
Clergy from different parts of the country are now raising concerns over the move by government to have individuals who have no stake in the church to be in commission looking into the affairs of the church. The leaders termed the Religious Bill 2024 as punitive and one that seeks to muzzle the freedom of worship. Leaders among the controversial proposals in the bill include proposal for the churches to pay taxes and that a theological curriculum be developed to regulate theology. The bill also says those who contravene will be subjected to a fine not exceeding 5 million shillings and a jail term of 3 years or both.
We don't want the bill to be amended. We want the bill to be dropped, completely dropped. And we demand the church should be respected. Sio tafadhali, the church must be respected.
Tunaona ya kwamba Mheshimiwa Mungatana alikosa washauri wa kimsingi katika kuwasilisha mswada mzima huu. Maana kila mahali umekiuka. Ndivyo tunavyohisi. Na kwa hiyo mapendekezo yetu ndio haya ya kwamba mswada huu wa Mungatana utolewe tu mara moja bungeni. Hata sio kujadiliwa, hautufai kabisa. Yani huu unafunga kanisa kabisa na wahubiri wake. Kwa hiyo utolewe, ndio kauli ya kwanza tunayotoa. Na kwa hivyo pia nasi tungependa kama jimbo hili ama wahuduma wa kutoka eneo hili tunaunga mkono hali ya kwamba kanisa liweze kujidhibiti lenyewe. Tangu mwanzo, kanuni zote na sheria zote tunazopewa na Mungu zinatupa uwezo wa kujidhibiti. Hata ikiwezekana waombe ushauri hawa wanaunda mswada huu, waombe ushauri kutoka kwetu sisi wahubiri. Na pia tumeona ya kwamba kuna hili jopo ambalo Mheshimiwa Rais aliweza kuliteua, almaarufu Presidential Task Force on the review of legal and regulatory framework governing religious organizations in Kenya. Hata bado halijaweza kuwasilisha taarifa yao na ikajadiliwa kikamilifu. Mbona hii tayari imeruka imeenda kule? Haijazingatia yaliomo upande huu, mbona amezingatia tu upande mmoja? Kwa ajili hiyo sisi tunapinga mswada huu wote kabisa.
Kuna dhehebu lenyewe lina mikakati yake na katiba zake. Tatu, kuna Biblia yenyewe. Na tunasema kwamba self regulation, ukiwa katika hayo makundi, ni lazima hayo makundi ya kutazame wewe mwenyewe. They must come and check what you are doing. Ili kama kuna mmoja anaanza kupotea, hao tayari wana usika katika kurekebisha huyo mtu.
We consider that this bill is punitive and retrogressive, for it will impact negatively on the good work that the religious organizations have done in this country over the years.
Churches are non-profit making organizations, and therefore this cannot be an exceptional country whereby the church is being crippled from underneath, slowly killing the church slowly. That one we can see in this bill.
All right, to the newspapers, let's take a look at the headline on the Daily Nation this morning, which has much to do as well with land title deeds mystery. Now, stolen title deeds mystery deepens. Stolen title deeds mystery deepens. The security documents can be used to forge title deeds and commit land fraud. Now, these security documents is what the government presser says was stolen. Actually, the Ministry of Land says was stolen. Initially, there had been a statement released by the government presser who said that it was a title deeds which was stolen, but that was countered. So, two conflicting statements: stolen security papers and infiltration of the government printer have exposed how daring corruption cartels raided an installation supervised by State House and revealed the extent of land fraud in the country. Now, according to the Ministry of Lands, they say what was stolen, or what is missing at least, is security documents. And those security documents can be used to forge title deeds and commit land fraud in the country. Now, to add salt to injury, the government presser had earlier on issued a statement saying that titles had been stolen bearing serial numbers between 5253,001 and 5253,367. And according to the government presser, they say they will no longer recognize those particular titles as they have been cancelled. Now, it's not just about what was stolen, but also about what these two particular institutions are fighting over, and that is on printing of title deeds. Now, that is solely left to the government printer, but now the Ministry of Lands wants a stake in it, and they are seeking to collect money so that they can be able to modernize their printers and also put them in a position to be able to print title deeds. Now, the Land Ministry has reassured Kenyans on theft of quote-unquote papers used for printing titles, and the Land Ministry pointed out that it relies on the government printer for the provision of the security documents used for the printing of title deeds. In the clarification, the ministry said that the papers can only become title deeds after they are handed over to them, filled with the ownership details and sealed with the stamp and signature of the registrar after all due processes are followed. So stolen title deeds mystery deepens amid printing row. So who will print title deeds? That's a row between the Ministry of Lands as well as the government printer, as well as these particular stolen title deeds or stolen, security documents, which the government printer has been able to give, numbers between. If the titles bear serial number between 525-3001 and 525-3367, all those particular titles are missing. Also, top of the page, impeachment loading, defining week for Ruto-Gachagua feud. Gachagua takes his burden to the Lord. And that picture on top of the page tells the story as he kneels at the clergy or before the altar, and he was being prayed for yesterday. Now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua maintained his planned ouster is against the will of the people, even as the National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula waded into the raging debate on the push to impeach the DP, and he didn't mention his name or exactly pinpoint him out. But what he said is that, those who can afford to split this country need to go home. So we'll be having a deeper conversation around that. Now to the Standard newspaper. Members of Parliament to Ruto, DP must be sent home. MPs to Ruto, DP must be sent home. And of course, still the picture on Gachagua kneeling before the altar. Now, ahead of the president's meeting with members of parliament, it is expected that the Kenya Kwanza parliamentary group meeting will be happening today. And the leaders are categorical. No discussion about dropping impeachment motion is on the table. According to Majority Whip Silvana Sosoro, he says, we advise the president to keep off on this and let members of parliament do their job. Nyeri Town Member of Parliament Duncan Madenge on his part says the president has no power to let anyone violate the constitution. So what MPs are basically telling the head of state is, yes, we'll come for the parliamentary group meeting, but kindly, the impeachment agenda should not be on top of the table. In other words, they've got fears that the president may try to intervene and save Gachagua's head. And so the Standard has also been able to establish that Ruto, who was out of the country when the impeachment motion calls gathered pace, is undecided on the matter and could try to dissuade his allies from the ouster bid as he did months ago. So foregone conclusion is it, members of parliament who allegedly more than 300 members of parliament have signed the impeachment motion, but there's a due process to which or how you impeach a deputy president, and first you collect signatures. Somebody has to sponsor that particular motion. A third of the members of parliament, have to sign that particular motion, and that gives us about 177 members of parliament have to sign the motion, so that the speaker can now, be able to table that particular motion at the floor of the National Assembly. If 2/3 of the members of parliament vote and support this particular motion, then the speaker then now communicates to the speaker of the Senate within 2 days. On the other hand, now the speaker of the Senate can as well begin instituting that process yet again at the Senate. So still a long process, but if you listen to what members of parliament are saying, this could be happening tomorrow. So we'll be keeping tabs with that. We'll also have a conversation around that as well. So what exactly has Gachagua done? He's been accused of violating the Constitution, corruption. He's been accused of gross violation of the Constitution, public utterances termed as inciting, reckless, inflammatory, and capable of stirring ethnic hatred. Has been accused of conduct and responsibility. Principal Assistant to the President has been questioned. His conduct has been questioned. Unlawful and corrupt acquisition of assets, violating national and international law. Another basis for his impeachment, according to the document, is gross misconduct. So the burden of proof lies with whoever sponsors this particular motion. So that is the headline on top of the page. Now, NHIF dies with its scandals and secrets. Tomorrow, Kenyans wake up to a new health scheme, putting an end to the National Health Insurance Fund that has had its fair share of ups and downs. Now, the shift registration, by the way, there was a deadline to that because it was supposed to start working October 1st, which is tomorrow. So NHIF dies with its scandals and secrets, the billions of shillings which, the auditor was able to flag as, either not properly accounted for, no documents to support. We've got also hospitals who are still claiming billions of money in NHIF funds. You also have hospitals who acquired NHIF funds despite the fact that perhaps they weren't offering those particular services. So there have been so many scandals and secrets around NHIF, but well, it will die with it because now we're speaking about the Social Health Insurance Fund, which is a new fund to which, Kenyans will be waking up to that new health scheme tomorrow. Also from the Ministry of Education, grade 9 preparation in jeopardy, 3 months to roll out. Grade 9 preparation in jeopardy, 3 months to roll out. It is expected that those in grade 8 now will be heading to grade 9. But there's a huge gap in terms of funding, in terms of teaching staff, as well as in terms of infrastructure classes. There are enough classrooms because remember the JSS, Junior Secondary School, is domiciled in primary school. So do primary schools have the proper and enough infrastructure to be able to host this particular JSS group even as they proceed? So that is the headline on the Standard. All right, so allow us to take a quick breather, but when we come back this morning, we'll be having a conversation around the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua. Is he a dead man walking? Well, one particular newspaper on Friday called him a dead man walking. So is he? What options does he have constitutionally? As well as will President William Ruto be able to intervene even as he's set to hold that parliamentary group with the Kenya Kwanza members of parliament? Are some of the allegations being fronted by MPs sufficient enough to impeach him? And where will that proof come from? Because the burden of proof always lies with whoever sponsors that motion. The only two ways this can end: either the allegations will be substantiated or not substantiated. So we'll have that conversation when we return. Stay with us, keep your feedback coming in. We'll be glad to sample them when we come back.